Welcome to an all-new episode of Her Playbook. The Her Playbook podcast is presented by Kendra Scott. Game day just got personal. Find your winning look at Kendra Scott, where team spirit meets personal style. Shop jewelry, accessories, and more at your New York area Kendra Scott store or online at kendrascott.com. I'm Madelyn Burke, and I am thrilled to be joined by Marla Ostroff on this episode, the Managing Director of North America at Ticketmaster. Marla, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, thank you. Enjoying being here, having you here.
It's such a cool space, and thank you for hosting us here in New York City. You've been in the ticketing industry for over 30 years. First of all, how did that start? I love the story of a young bartender at college kind of having a kismet conversation.
Yes. Well, first of all, in college, I was really interested in sports. I'm a big spectator sport fan. Did not play basketball or football for that matter in college, but I played basketball in high school. So when I got to college, really interested in it, but I needed to work part-time and I needed to do my studies. So I ended up working at a bar where a guy who was really involved in the university and really involved with the basketball program, he would come in every day, not drink, he would clean my tables, he would talk to me and say, I love the fact that you study and you're doing this at the same time. And he said, and I love your personality. And he just said, one day I'm going to hire you. And I found out what he did, and he worked in ticketing. And I went away. I went to Europe after college, and he then found me and said, I need you to go to New York and interview for a job. And that was it.
Wow. And now, I mean, over 3 decades later, you've seen so much evolution in the ticketing space, watching it evolve from paper tickets to digital. And when you look at all the transitions over the years, what has been the most surprising change for you?
Well, I think the biggest change was when we really went to the internet and started selling tickets on the internet. And that is when Ticketmaster was primarily owned by Paul Allen from Microsoft. And he and Fred Rosen, our chairman at the time, really pushed to get the clients even comfortable with the idea of people are going to be putting credit cards online. So it was a huge transition, and that's been the exciting part for me, is seeing the teams and even on the concert and theater side, how they've evolved from going on the internet, feeling comfortable with that, to then going to paper tickets, to then going to digital tickets. And now we're going into the world of AI, and that can open up a lot more as well.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned too that the comfort level of putting a credit card in is something new. And, each new frontier poses new challenges, right? You go from waiting around the block in a long line to, a long queue, or dealing with bots or what have you. How do you continue to navigate the different challenges that come up with each new iteration of the growth?
Yeah, well, that's, when I look at Ticketmaster has been around for a long time, and part of it is because we have to always be ahead of that. Yeah. And it is complicated because if you're sitting at your computer, you don't really realize how many people want that show, and you think, I want to go to that show, or I really want to go to that game, and you don't understand that there are other people who also are interested in that. And so I think for us, it's also being now transparent to show people how many people are in the queue. It might be daunting and upsetting to know that there are probably 20,000 other people, or maybe more, who want to go. Yeah. But at the same time, I think being transparent and being able to tell people who are purchasing tickets, here's the reality, here's what the stadium holds, having people understand our business a little more, because I think we've so many times sold out so many big events that it becomes sort of like expected.
Right.
And at the same time, there's, even from when I started, there are people who try to game the system, and they try to, whether they used to stand at ticket outlets and put people there to buy tickets, whether they put people on the phone to try and get them through phone orders back when we did that, to now having people online or through bots trying to get tickets. So we have a huge group that just deals with bot control, security, because that's always, a ticket is a very hot commodity. It's a passionate purchase, different than buying anything else online.
Yeah, it's an experience. It's a memory that you're buying. I'm always curious too, how are price points decided? Is that something that you work with an artist, a team, a venue on? Is that something that's the supply and demand? How does the price of a ticket get decided?
Good question, because contrary to popular belief, the team or the artist decides the ticket price. It's always their decision what they're going to charge. Teams make a decision every year as to how their ticket prices should be laid out. And an artist, as they go on tour, decides the same thing. And I think that people have seen prices go up. Some of it might be that an artist or a team is putting more money into the product, whether it's the players, whether it's the stadium, or in the case of a concert, it might be that an artist like Billie Eilish might have 12 trucks to put everything on her stage and do an incredible concert, and that costs money. Right. So yeah. They too have to be paid for what they're doing and putting on this incredible event. I just think that also because of resale, and sometimes it's blurry to people when they're going on resale sites as to what is the artist or the team's price versus what is someone reselling that ticket.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And it's such a different experience for the consumer for each one. Ticketmaster also recently got into Broadway and theater earlier this year in a different capacity. How would you characterize the different experience with Ticketmaster and working with a sports team, a musician, a Broadway show? How is that a different approach?
Yeah, it's interesting. We have been working with Broadway for a long time.
Sure.
The difference now is we actually have more theaters that we sell for Broadway. So not only do we sell, we were selling about 10 theaters. Now we're selling over 40 some theaters. And with that, we're able to, again, because our brand is sort of ubiquitous with, in many markets across the country with, I'm going to look for entertainment like I'm looking at Amazon for maybe a product. I'm looking at entertainment. I'm going to go to Ticketmaster. So someone in Ohio might look at Ticketmaster to go to Broadway. And so we're able to bring more eyeballs to people who are coming to New York, but we also sell theater across the country. Yeah. So we have probably about a few hundred theaters that we do season tickets with, and that's why it's actually very similar to sports.
Yeah.
And many times we actually put together our sports and theater clients because they're dealing with the same kind of things when they're talking about what they can offer their season ticket holders as part of what added benefits can they have as being a season ticket holder. It doesn't matter if it's theater or sports. It's very, very similar.
Yeah. It's so unique, too, to be a part of a company, of an organization that has such a solid brand, right? Ticketmaster is a name that you'd say, and everyone knows what you're talking about. I think most of us have the app on our phone and have used it to buy and experience a ticket to an event, a game, a concert, or whatnot. It's one thing to get to that point in an industry, but to stay there and to maintain that top spot. What is the secret to staying on top once you've established yourself as the go-to?
Well, we always have competition, and I think that, like any other company, I think for us it's about being really connected to our clients and listening to them, understanding what their needs are, and then trying to bring them new products that are going to whether help them get people into their venues or whether it's helping a season ticket holder be able to transfer their ticket in a different way. I think, for us, it's always about bringing new people into our company as well who are married up with people like me who have a passion all my life for ticketing and what we do and understand that side of the business with technology people who say, okay, why don't we think about what's the next best way to purchase a ticket, how to make it easier, and how to make the fan experience always a good one.
Now, when you first got into this industry and into this business, it was a very male-dominant field, and it still perhaps is. How have you seen that evolve over the years?
I'd like to see it evolve more. So hopefully, before I end my career, I will see it even grow more, because I see so many great women that I think would like to be in more senior positions, in particular in sports. But I see it on the concert side of our business as well. For me, I didn't even think about it. I think about this a lot. I didn't even think about going into a room with men. I thought more about the fact that I was the youngest person. Because I think the two men that I worked for that had the greatest influence on me, because at the time I worked with a lot of men, were both like, do not think about anybody else but yourself. Like, say to yourself, I can do this. And they never brought up the woman word or none of that.
Yeah.
So it was more about me and what I should be doing. So I think that, in particular, the first person I worked for who I met at the bar, he really was, I don't care what people think. I'm going to wear, if I want to wear jeans to work, I'm going to wear jeans to work. And back then, you didn't wear jeans to work. He said, people should accept you for you, but you need to be really direct, really open, so that people know you. And it shouldn't matter who or what you are. So I think that for me, between him and then, and his name was Mark Schoner, and then the other person was Fred Rosen, who was is a very direct person.
Yeah.
And he really promoted women, men. It didn't matter. Like, I didn't see a difference. And he put a lot into me and helping me be a more, I think, emboldened person. And so I see now that when people ask, well, did you ever see a difference? As I say to you, yeah. I really didn't, even though I had a couple experiences where it was brought up.
Sure.
I could relay one if you'd like.
Yeah.
It was many years ago. I was with a team president, and we're sitting at the table negotiating a contract. And this probably was now about 18 years ago. And I had a group of men who worked for me at the table as well. I was the only woman in the room. Again, I didn't really think about that. I was thinking more that I really didn't know this man. He was a little bit older. And actually, it was longer than 18 years ago. It was probably more like 28, 30. It was probably 30 years ago. How time flies, yeah. And I was like right across, just like you are.
Yeah.
And he was talking, but he was looking at the man next to me, and he wasn't looking at me. And the man next to me, who was older than me, worked for me, kicked me and said, why isn't he looking at you? And I said, don't worry about it. I'll do the talking. We'll get this deal done. I'll worry about it later. So got the deal done. 2 years later, I had to renegotiate with this man, and came in, and he's looking at me the whole time I'm talking. He's smiling. He's engaged. And I was like, what happened in 2 years? And I hadn't talked to him a lot in those 2 years, a few times, but I've had enough conversation that I felt comfortable, again, just looking at him.
Yeah.
And at the end of our meeting, he said, Marla, I just want to tell you, we have a mutual friend. And he mentioned the person, and at first I thought, oh gosh, what did this person say? Because it's a sort of it was a person I knew in sports who was a little, had always a lot of strong opinions. But he said, Marla, he told me that you will always tell me the truth and you have balls. And I was like, at first I was, whoa. And after that, we had the best relationship. We still do have a great relationship. And, I sort of asked him why he didn't really directly look at me. And he said, well, I didn't really know you.
Right.
And for me, he said, I really have to know you. And it wasn't about what sex I was. It was more, I think at the time, though, he had never really negotiated with a woman, and he had to get sort of my seal of approval from this other person.
Yeah.
So it all worked out great.
Yeah, it's his own comfort level in terms of, okay, this is a new experience for me. And
right.
combined with, I think, a lot of women in fields that are more male dominant would experience the same thing. It's that, okay, it takes somebody else to vouch for this person is actually for real to be seen in that way at times. I do like, though, how you brought up the just bold and honest conversation. And I know that in your mentorship of, especially of younger women, but a lot of people coming up in this business, that's a point of emphasis for you, is just being bold, direct, honest. It seems like so simple of a concept, but how important is that? And how, have you seen challenges with that with some people coming up in the business?
Yes, I think that sometimes people hold back because they're afraid. They're afraid if they say the wrong thing. And I think if you're passionate about in my case, I'm passionate about my clients and I'm passionate about the team that I work with. And I always feel like if I don't say something, but you just have to know when and where to say it. You can't just blurt out every time you have a feeling or emotion.
Fair.
But I think from a business standpoint, there should be no reason that you don't sit down and if you have your facts together as to why you're bringing this up. And yes, it might be very direct. Everybody knows where you stand. And then I think in my case, the clients I work with know that I'm always going to be that person for them, as well as I hope the team that I work with feels the same way.
Yeah. You've become such a force to be reckoned with in this industry and have garnered so much respect around it. And I find it fascinating how well you balance that with also being a mother and the experience it took to become a mother at times. Mm-hmm. I think that, you were telling me a little bit about this story, which I find mind-blowing and fascinating, if you don't mind sharing.
Sure, because I like to tell people all the time, number one, do not put a time frame on anything on yourself, whether it's your career, whether it's finding a partner, whether it's having children. I don't have a time clock in my head. I just say sooner or later these things will happen, and if they don't happen, other things will happen to me that will be just as fulfilling.
Right.
And so that was always in my head. I'm very fortunate. Everything I'm going to tell you about my experience of my pregnancy, I credit my partner, my husband, who is an incredible partner for me, because I wouldn't be able to have gone through that without him. So I had challenges getting pregnant. I was an older mom, and once I got pregnant, super excited, and I had a complication. They said I'd have to be on bed rest for 2 weeks at the most. They thought maybe a week. Ended up that it wasn't, I was having issues with amniotic fluid on one of my twins, which I was having twins. So they said, you need to be on bed rest in the hospital. So they put me in the hospital. Well, I didn't want anybody at work to know. And I didn't want my clients to know. I was in the middle of negotiating, actually, it was 25 years ago. Right now, as a matter of fact, right now, I was negotiating the U.S. Open, and we hadn't had the U.S. Open contract. So the president of the USTA at the time said to me, you really need to come up here to White Plains, when they had an office there. And he said, I really want your team. I want to see the passion that you have for getting this business. So here I am. I'm in the hospital. I'm like, oh. So I thought, okay, my team will go up. I will be on conference call. Well, back then, again, no smartphones.
Right.
So I was on conference call several times because I said to my EA at the time, transfer all the calls to my hospital phone. Don't tell them I'm in a hospital. Just say, hold on, please. She would tell me who's on the line. Meantime, the nurses would come in the morning. They would say, what's your conference call schedule today? And I would let them know so they could do their tests in the middle of that. And next thing I knew, that I'm on the phone with this person from the USTA, and I hear him say, I hear him mumbling something, and then out loud he goes, Marla, I just said, why aren't you here? Like, this is crazy. You want my business, but you're not here. And I hear a person who worked with me at the time say, she's in the hospital, she's having twins, blah, blah, blah. And he like got very quiet, and he goes, well, Marla, why didn't you tell me? He goes, you remember my wife had triplets and was on bed rest at home for weeks. And he said, I said, because I didn't want you to stop calling me. I didn't want you to stop dealing with me. So I ended up being in the hospital for 108 days. Oof. And then one of my twins had to stay there for a month. So I was going back and forth from the hospital to my house. So my baby at home, then I'd go to the baby at the hospital. But more about the work. And I would say that, number one, I am very fortunate. I have worked with great people at Ticketmaster. And so it's the support of those people that has really helped me as well. So I could have that ruse for a while without, finally it did get out. But, again, I was so exhausted every day mentally. I would be so thrilled that by 7 o'clock I'd go, okay, no more phone calls. I didn't really get out of bed, but was really excited about that. And then I would really think about the fact that I was going to leave there with 2 babies no matter what. I was just projecting that in my head. But I think that for other women and other women that I talk to who are having children and complications over the years that I've spoken with, I always say, if you don't have a job that you could do from your hospital bed, not everybody is as fortunate as I was. If you don't have that, find projects, things that you can do because you want to have that baby, but hopefully if you can work, there are things that you could still do.
Right.
So I'm very lucky. Ticketmaster was incredibly supportive, probably because we did get the U.S. Open and 3 other contracts done from my hospital bed. So it was quite a good year.
Honestly, that is a very particular skill set. To be able to negotiate a huge contract from a hospital bed is incredible. I don't think a lot of people can put that on their resume.
No, I hope not.
I hope not. It is also, too, kind of a testament to how, the experience of being a woman in an industry like this, when you kind of feel like you want to have to, keep that a little bit secret at times to be able to be taken as seriously or considered as seriously as some of your counterparts in the industry.
Right. And that's why I said I didn't want, again, I'm not sure if it was just about being a woman, but maybe that was in my head, like, oh, yes, I'm having these babies, but they're not going to call me now.
Right.
And how do I continue that conversation? But I will say also, I think it's extremely important to then take that time and be able to, those couple months afterwards, be able to spend that time. I'm very fortunate for my team here. My team gets 6-month maternity and pat leave. So I think that is a really great thing for women today. Back I got 3 months. Yeah. I will admit, I was sort of excited to walk into my office, though, after being in the hospital all those months.
I think something about your story tells me you enjoy what you do for work.
I do.
Yeah, that is great. I mean, and, thinking about all of the experiences that you've had with your time at Ticketmaster, is there, you've negotiated a lot of big deals. Obviously, this U.S. Open one from the hospital bed is a standout one, but is there another story or perhaps a most rewarding experience that you can remember from your time?
I've had so many. I think for me, when I came to Ticketmaster, they had been probably for 10 years a small company. And then Fred Rosen came into the company and said, I really want to grow this thing. So I think for me, being part of, really it was like being part of a startup and opening offices and being flexible. And I think that's really what helped me in my career, really from the very beginning. I would go work box office. I'd offer to help behind, do will call, do whatever I could to help, because I really wanted to also understand how people were working with our product and what they went through. Yeah. So I think that opening all those offices, training people, I had a senior position then, but I still didn't feel like, just because I had this title, that I couldn't do these other things. And I think that is actually what really has helped my career, because I've never thought about, well, I'm now a general manager, I'm now an EVP. It doesn't matter what your title, you have to work together as a team. And and do anything to sort of help grow your business. And so at the time we were going into Buffalo, New York, we were going into Virginia, into, I can name many markets, Philadelphia. And it was exciting for me. I didn't, and I really offered to travel a lot. I probably gave up some great activities that, back home. And I remember, I remember thinking to myself that this is so exciting that what we're going to end up accomplishing.
Yeah.
And so I think really, I can tell you that a lot of contracts and negotiating that I've done over the years has been really fun, and some of it not so fun sometimes. Yeah. But that to me was so rewarding.
When, people who are watching or listening this perhaps might not understand too the process of negotiating a contract from a Ticketmaster side with a team, with a league, with a event, how would you describe what that process is and what is being negotiated there?
So we negotiate many times with the venue and whoever comes into that venue, whether it's the team, and the team might own the venue, or it's a promoter, it's really with the venue. Okay. And because what you're doing is we negotiate for giving them not only hardware that they can use for coming into the venue, the accessing now digital tickets and scanning those, to inside, which is the part that the general fan doesn't see, and that's all the software that is for a season ticket holder. Mm-hmm. Then our third thing is the distribution. So we offer, whether it used to be phones and outlets to now Ticketmaster.com, as an extension to the team or the venue's website.
Okay.
So it's offering all those services. And then we also have marketing, and we offer marketing services. So it's really all about helping sell the ticket. It's also about post-sale, how someone comes into a venue. It's about reporting for the team or the artist so that they have reports on, and then it's also for knowing who's coming into the venue. You want to know that Marla's coming in, and ultimately we want to know now, like, does Marla like hot dogs and French fries? We should be making sure that she knows that we're serving that today, and here's where she can go get that.
Yeah.
So it's really all about, and that's where I say we work with our teams and our venues to make sure that we're providing tools that they can talk to their fans, because our fans are their fans.
Right.
And we're just trying to help them sell as many tickets as they can.
Yeah. So in negotiating with the venue, perhaps you get a deal with MetLife Stadium, mm-hmm. which, covers the Giants and the Jets games, but also the musicians that are coming to perform there. And that's kind of all under one umbrella.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
Correct.
That's fascinating. There's so many nuances to this industry that I think people, use on a daily basis and see on a daily basis, but there's so much going on and so many layers to it.
Well, that's what we say all the time. Like, no one really understands ticketing, because
right.
all you go, I got my ticket, I have my ticket, and it's the on sale. But it's all the things that go behind it, and then it's the technology. And, that's why a lot of ticketing companies have sort of come and gone, because to put money into that technology to make sure that massive on sales go smoothly. And, there are always a couple that might not. Mm-hmm. And hopefully the majority of them, in our case, do. We sell millions and millions of tickets a month. And, we also, unfortunately, get billions of bot attacks. And it's, as we talked about earlier, how do you block that? Right. And how do you have a great on sale? And you're never going to make everybody happy, because either they didn't get the seat they wanted, they didn't get a ticket because it got, the event was sold out. But how do you then make them come back and know that they're always going to have a real ticket, number one,
right?
Because that these days is extremely important, and that it was an easy process. Even if you didn't get the ticket you wanted, it wasn't an arduous process.
Yeah. Now, as a professional in this industry, as long as you have been, when you look back at the earlier days of your career, or perhaps look at some of the younger professionals coming into, whether it be ticketing or an industry of their choice, what is one piece of advice that you would want to give either your younger self or the younger generation as they kind of venture into, trying to establish themselves in their chosen field?
Well, my younger self, I'm not sure what advice I'd give myself. Probably none of it relates to work. So
That's also fair, though. I mean, life is just as important as work.
yes, and I think for myself though, like I was open to moving. I moved a bit from my career.
Yeah.
So I was open to moving, and as I said, I was open to doing anything. And I remember that one of my vice presidents said to me at one point early in my career, well, you seem very mature, and that's why they promoted me. And I remember thinking, I'm not that mature, but I think it was more the fact that I was so into what I was doing. And I was probably immature on my personal side and maybe more mature on my work side, because I really found something that I could be passionate about. And so I think that making sure that you're, number one, really getting in there and not saying, well, what's next for me? Like, I never thought about what is next. As I said, in my personal life as well, I didn't think far in advance, like, oh, well, if I'm doing this, what's going to happen in 2 years? Like, I actually think that I talk to my kids about this a lot, because their friends talk about, oh, I've been somewhere a year, where am I going next? And I say to them, what have you done in that year that makes it that you should move on? What, you have learned everything you should at that job, whereas I really took on so many things that people noticed me for what I was taking on. I wasn't thinking about people noticing me and moving to the next position. So I got promoted without like having to ask or without thinking about it, because I volunteered, hey, can I go help you in Pittsburgh, because I heard there's a big event there and you guys need help. There was a Grateful Dead show at MetLife. Can I help get people into the venue with the ticket takers? That's how you move ahead, because A, you're learning more about the business, and B, you're showing your coworkers also you're in there with them. I think it just makes you more marketable and more have more leadership qualities in the future.
Yeah, and almost more dimensional in terms of what you can offer too. I love that perspective of it's not necessarily the time as much as it is, the task and the experience of it all that kind of propels you forward. Marla Ostroff, thank you so much. This has been a really great conversation. I really enjoyed this, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join us on Her Playbook, brought to you by Kendra Scott.
Absolutely, and I love wearing my Kendra Scott today, so thank you.
She's game day ready.
I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.